Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. President Draupadi Murmu flags off inaugural President's Bodyguard Soldier-A-Thon 2026 from Rashtrapati Bhavan. Event celebrates 253-year legacy of the elite President's Bodyguard and commemorates the Kargil War. Trump cancels planned attacks on Iran, says parameters of a deal agreed as Tehran warns of decisive strikes on other nations' fields in retaliation. 13 die in tourist plane crash over Peru's Nazca lines. Cause remains under investigation, although flights were suspended over the area due to strong winds that reduced visibility. Spain installs floating barrier in Ceuta after a deadly migrant rush from Morocco. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez criticizes Italy's decision to suspend Schengen agreement with Madrid for a month. Five of Cuba's 15 provinces without power as grid fails. Sixth nationwide blackout of 2026, primarily driven by a strict ongoing US oil blockade. India jumped to the fourth spot in the medals table on the penultimate day of Commonwealth Games as boxers clinch a record haul of 7 gold medals. US President Donald Trump made a U-turn within minutes of claiming to be ready to go against Iran. Trump on Saturday said that the United States, in fact, and Israel had agreed to hold off on planned strikes on Iran at the request of Tehran and other countries in the region, provided a deal is quickly reached. In a post on social media platform Truth Social, Trump said, and I quote him, "The US is locked and loaded and ready to go against the Islamic Republic of Iran at levels of military terror, strength and power not seen since World War II. Despite this, we have just been asked by Iran and other Middle Eastern countries to hold off any attack." He further added, "Based on this request, I have agreed to cancel the attack, subject to being able to rapidly make a deal. The country of Israel joins me in this commitment." Earlier, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on Saturday warned against any adventurous action by the US. Araghchi held separate phone calls with senior Turkish, Pakistani and Saudi officials discussing the risks of further escalation. During these calls, Araghchi warned against any US military action, reiterating that it was willing to respond decisively to any attack against its sovereignty or national security. These latest developments come amid growing speculation about a fresh US-Israeli military campaign targeting Iranian infrastructure, while Tehran is threatening to expand its retaliation beyond the region. Iran on Saturday warned the Gulf countries against allowing the US and Israel to use their territory to launch attacks on the country. According to the Fars news agency, Iranian Foreign Ministry in a statement said that governments in the region have a legal, religious and moral duty to prevent the US and Israel from using their territory and facilities to attack Iran. The ministry also said that the continued maritime blockade and attacks on the Iranian military sites, civilian areas and infrastructure amount to an act of aggression and a violation of the UN Charter. It added that Iran would exercise its right to legitimate self-defense. Meanwhile, US embassies in capitals across West Asia on Saturday warned their citizens to beware of unforeseen escalation in the regional conflict and urged them to be ready to leave. The warning, posted online by US embassies in Bahrain, Egypt, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, came a day after US President Donald Trump threatened to hit Iran very hard. The messages urged citizens to check flight details and to follow safety advice from local authorities. U.S. citizens in Jordan were told not to visit military bases in the country, which have recently come under Iranian missile attack, and in Israel they were urged to seek the location of the nearest bomb shelter. The U.S. Embassy in Beirut said the mission remained on ordered departure status, meaning that the family members and non-essential U.S. government personnel were still relocated outside of Lebanon. Our correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh joins us from New Delhi. Shubhendu, just after posting that U.S. is all ready to hit Iran, we have seen Donald Trump backtrack or retract from his statement, saying that he is planning to pause the strikes. What do you make of this sudden U-turn by the president?
Preeti, this is not surprising. This is a characteristic military and diplomatic back and forth that the U.S. administration has been doing over the conflict in West Asia. After saying that they're locked and loaded, President Trump makes that announcement, which, again, it sounds that we've heard that before. He says that there is a possibility of a deal, and Iran, Tehran, and other countries in the region had reached out to America to stop the bombing for now so that a deal could be reached. I mean, he's put a condition. Once again, it's a pressure tactic. He's putting a condition that the deal must be arrived at as soon as possible. What is different this time, however, is that Israel, America's ally, key ally in the region, is also on board. Remember the last time that deal was signed in Palace of Versailles in France. Israel was not officially part of that deal. This was between United States and Iran. This time, President Trump, in his social media post, particularly mentions that Israel is on board with this plan of giving negotiations deal a little more time. We've seen this week the manner in which the escalations have spread. It's not just Tehran and United States, but also the Saudis and the Houthis who've jumped into the fray, attacking one another's bases. So in that sense, there is a threat of a major, not just escalation, but expansion of the conflict in the region, which is not in anyone's favor. Both Washington and Tehran realize that prolonging the conflict is not going to be in anyone's favor. The idea would be to reach a deal. President Trump once again highlights the key issues, key demands of America. One is, of course, opening the Strait of Hormuz without any condition. Second, a permanent end to any nuclear ambition that Iran might have. But that is easier said than done. There are complexities associated with that. There is also Israeli operation in Lebanon, which is going on in parallel, which last time complicated the peace deal. So in that sense, what we are looking at the moment is a certain repetition of situation that we've seen in the past. But we'll have to wait and watch. Only the outcome will determine if this is a different situation, if indeed a certain peace deal can be reached. Both countries have suffered in economic terms. In particular, the oil market, global oil market, has remained volatile. The Strait of Hormuz remained choked for all practical purposes. There's a double blockade, Iran blockading movement of any international vessel, and America blockading Iran's ports. So the Strait of Hormuz is really not operating, and that is putting significant pressure on global economy, which is something that America, President Trump, is also concerned about. So we'll have to really wait and watch to see if this time this pressure tactic would work and a deal could be reached and sustained.
All right, Shubhendu, we leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. And in the latest update in Russia-Ukraine conflict, at least 3 people have been killed and 21 were injured after a homemade explosive device was detonated at an Italian restaurant in Moscow. According to the police, the explosion occurred just before 8 p.m. local time, close to an Italian restaurant located in one of Moscow's 7 Stalin-era skyscrapers at Kudrinskaya Square. The National Anti-Terrorist Committee said a woman carrying the explosives tried to enter the restaurant but was stopped by a security guard. The device detonated, killing the woman, a guard, and a visitor to the restaurant. In recent years, several senior Russian military figures have been assassinated in and around the Russian capital. Moscow has blamed Kyiv for those attacks. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky urged Ukrainian partners to strengthen the country's air defenses by providing additional Patriot systems after the massive overnight Russian missile and drone attack that killed at least 9 people and wounded 40 in Kyiv and the surrounding region. Whereas in a separate attack in the northeastern city of Kargil on Saturday, stacks of books were destroyed after a warehouse used by one of Ukraine's largest publishers was set ablaze in a Russian drone attack. Kharkiv region governor Ole Sinebov said 2 drones struck the warehouse, injuring 1 person. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said Washington will intensify diplomatic efforts in the coming weeks to explore the possibility of restarting negotiations between Russia and Ukraine and ending the conflict. Speaking in an interview, Rubio, however, acknowledged that major differences between Moscow and Kyiv continue to complicate efforts to reach an agreement. He noted that both sides continue to hold firm positions on key issues, making progress difficult. On to Spain now, where almost all of the tens of thousands of migrants who entered North African enclave of Ceuta from Morocco have left. Ceuta's regional president, Juan Jesus Vivas, estimated up to 60,000 people crossed in recent days, while Interior Minister Fernando Grant Malasca reported that the situation almost entirely reversed, with most returning under the watch of Spanish forces. At least 67 people died attempting the crossing by land or sea. Spain installed a new 500-meter pneumatic barrier to reinforce the border. As a result, Italy has suspended Schengen-free movement with Spain for 1 month, and Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has criticized Italy's decision, describing some EU reactions as selfish, polarizing and unlawful, calling for an urgent meeting of interior ministers. European Union interior ministers will hold an emergency video conference on Tuesday to coordinate a response to the record mass influx of migrants into Spain's North African enclave of Ceuta. The meeting follows an open letter from 22 member states urging swift joint action to prevent further uncontrolled crossings, as well as a call from Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen confirmed that thanks to effective Spanish and Moroccan enforcement, not a single person who entered Ceuta reached mainland Spain or the wider EU. Spanish authorities reported that nearly all of the estimated 50,000 to 60,000 arrivals have already returned to Morocco, with the situation largely stabilized. A tourist aircraft crashed on Saturday while flying over Peru's ancient Nazca Lines archaeological site, killing all the 13 people aboard. The Cessna Caravan C-208 aircraft, operated by Peruvian airline Aerodyna, took off from Pisco Airport for a sightseeing flight over the UNESCO World Heritage Site before crashing in the Socorros area, which is about 6 kilometers from Nazca City and 19 kilometers from the Nazca Lines. Police said 11 passengers and 2 crew members died. The crash occurred a day after tourist flights over the area resumed, following a suspension due to strong winds. Victims reportedly included 7 Italians, 2 Germans and 2 Spaniards. The cause is under investigation and rescue teams responded at the site. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, gun shooting incident at Idaho sends shockwaves across the U.S. 3 dead includes suspected gunman. Violent clashes between security forces and protesters continue in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Multiple casualties reported. Wildfire danger in Europe shifts to Greece as evacuation orders remain in France.
Welcome to Kumarakom, Kerala, God's own country.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Newshour. Let's continue getting you more international updates. 3 people died, including the suspected gunman, and at least 2 others were injured after a shooting in a shopping area of Twin Falls in Idaho. Police chief told reporters that the shooter was dead and that there was no longer any threat to the community, adding that authorities were still working to identify the gunman and determine the motive. In immediate aftermath, police closed roads and a nearby bridge in the area. Twin Falls, a city of about 47,400 residents, is located in U.S. state of Idaho's Magic Valley region. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva on Sunday launched his bid for re-election, casting himself as a defender of Brazil's sovereignty. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, a leftist titan of Latin American politics who is loved and despised in near equal measure in Brazil, will launch his 7th bid for the presidency at a convention of his Workers' Party in Sao Paulo. He is seeking a 4th term in office in October's presidential election. This time, Lula's main rival is the former president's eldest son, Flavio Bolsonaro. The 45-year-old senator stepped into the role after his father was convicted of plotting a coup to prevent Lula from taking power in 2023. Hundreds of people protested in Buenos Aires against a proposed law that would ease foreign ownership of Argentina's rural land. The protest comes ahead of Argentine Senate's August 6th vote on President Javier Milei's proposed law of inviolability of private property, which seeks to remove existing restrictions on foreign purchases of rural land. The current law caps foreign ownership at 15% nationally and limits individual purchases to 1,000 hectares in productive zones. While the government says the reform will attract investment and provide legal certainty, critics argue that it could increase foreign control of farmland and weaken environmental protection. Cuba was hit on Saturday by a partial collapse of its national electric system, affecting several provinces, including the capital, Havana. National Electric Union of the North American nation, in a social media post, said 5 of the 15 provinces had no power due to a partial collapse of the electricity grid at 6:07 p.m. local time on Saturday. UNE says the fuel shortages have made the national grid more susceptible to outages and made the use of emergency generators, which typically run on diesel fuel, all but impossible. In recent weeks, some of the blackouts have lasted more than 30 hours in Havana and for several days in other parts of the island nation. Since the start of 2026, Cuba has experienced 5 nationwide blackouts, 3 of them in July within a period of 10 days. Since late 2024, there have been 10 such total power outages. Venezuela's government and opposition on Saturday announced that in-person political transition talks will begin next week in Caracas after agreeing on a working agenda. The latest talks follow the January capture of the then President Nicolas Maduro by U.S. forces and will focus on strengthening democracy and restoring rights after nearly 3 decades of socialist rule. The talks will be led by members of Venezuela's pro-government National Assembly and a group of former opposition lawmakers who previously attempted to oust Maduro. U.S. officials say that they will have a facilitating role. After U.S. forces captured Maduro and his wife, the Trump administration proposed a 3-phase plan for Venezuela, comprising of stabilization, recovery, and democratic transition. Despite the failure of the 4 previous dialogue processes between 2017 and 2024, a large majority in Venezuela expect a positive outcome from these negotiations, given the country's unprecedented political situation following the ousting of Maduro and the U.S. influence in the Rodriguez administration. Violence continues in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir with clashes between security forces and protesters resulting in multiple casualties. Official reports indicate that confrontations in areas including Rawalkot and surrounding districts have led to deaths among both civilians and security personnel. Authorities have stated that forces responsible in self-defense after protests turned violent. A communications blackout and curfew remain in place across parts of the region, restricting movement and access to information. Human rights groups have called for independent investigation into the incidents. Security deployments have been intensified to restore order, while officials continue to monitor the situation closely as efforts to stabilize the area proceed. And now we take a look at weather updates. Talking of the weather across India, the Indian Met Department has forecast heavy to very heavy rainfall at isolated places over coastal Karnataka, Kerala and Puducherry's Mahe, along with Rajasthan, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura and sub-Himalayan West Bengal and Sikkim on Sunday, the 2nd of August. Heavy rainfall is also likely at isolated places over Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Meghalaya, Bihar, Eastern Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Haryana, Delhi, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Goa, parts of Maharashtra, Odisha and Jharkhand. Thunderstorms accompanied by lightning and gusty winds are probable across several parts of the country. Fairly widespread to widespread rainfall is anticipated over northwest and northeast India in the coming days, with significant reduction in intensity over Gujarat and southern peninsular regions after Saturday. Residents in vulnerable areas have been advised by the IMD to remain vigilant. The flood situation in Assam has shown slight improvement, with 178,837 people affected across 7 districts of Golaghat, Sivasagar, Charaideo, Bajali, Dhemaji, Sonitpur and Jorhat, impacting 20 revenue circles and 349 villages, according to the Assam State Disaster Management Authority. Charaideo remains the worst hit. The death toll stands with 82, with no fresh fatalities reported. The Dikau at Sivasagar and Dhansiri at Numaligarh continue to flow above danger levels. Around 15,000 people have been sheltered in 44 relief camps. Crop area of about 15,060 hectares remains submerged. The central government has approved the advanced release of 2,117.85 crore rupees under the State Disaster Response Fund to 7 flood-affected states. Assam received 379.35 crore Indian rupees as the first installment. While in southern state of Kerala, 8 people died in rain-related incidents as intense rainfall from Friday night into Saturday triggered landslides, fresh flash floods and widespread destruction, particularly in the hilly regions. 3 of the central districts bore the brunt, with rivers breaching banks around in the wee hours of Sunday and floodwaters inundating towns. 65 relief camps have been set up, sheltering 1,465 people. The Indian Met Department forecasts that rainfall intensity will reduce from Sunday, with southern districts of Thiruvananthapuram and Kollam out of danger. Talking of international weather, in Europe, in France, the wildfire in the mountainous Gros-Brésilion region of the Var department flared up again on Friday, just 3 days after it had been brought under control, forcing authorities to evacuate nearly 2,500 people overnight. The blaze has scorched around 1,800 hectares of forest, while around 1,500 firefighters, supported by aircraft, temperatures nearing 40 degrees Celsius and low humidity, continue to hamper operations. Authorities remain cautiously optimistic that improving weather conditions will help bring the fire under control in the coming days. While in Greece, firefighting and evacuation efforts continue as multiple wildfires driven by strong winds rage across several parts of the country. Authorities near Porto Gormeno were forced to withdraw as a massive wall of fire and smoke swept through the forest and the shrubland. More than 300 firefighters, supported by 92 fire engines, remain deployed, while over 200 residents from Agos Veselios had earlier been evacuated by sea as helicopters continued aerial firefighting operations. In Spain, firefighters continue to battle several wildfire hotspots despite the government declaring an end to the national emergency triggered by massive forest fire. Conditions worsened in northwestern provinces, although restrictions were lifted in 14 previously evacuated towns after a fire that scorched around 11,000 hectares improved. Authorities also said major wildfires in Madrid and Avila, which burned more than 70,000 hectares, had been stabilized, while a fresh outbreak near the San Juan Reservoir was brought under control. Meanwhile, in the United States, authorities declared a state of emergency after a fast-moving wildfire swept across northwestern Spokane in Washington, driven by strong winds and unusually high temperatures. The blaze crossed the Spokane River, forcing the evacuation of thousands of residents, while nearly 10 square kilometers of land had been burned by Saturday evening. The authorities have issued a particularly dangerous situation red flag warning for eastern Washington as officials continue to investigate the cause of the fire. And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. Vietnam's Bao Da wetland forest, the region's last remaining freshwater wetland forest, has opened to visitors through a new community-based tourism initiative. The site features rich wildfire, untouched landscapes and offers a unique nature experience. A Vietnamese newspaper collector has spent the past decade preserving Vietnam's history by collecting and carefully archiving newspapers. In an era when digital news spreads instantly, the collection helps safeguard historical records, document significant events, and preserve the nation's cultural heritage for future generations. In Japan, cosplayers from around the world gathered in Nagoya for the 2026 World Cosplay Summit, celebrating creativity and pop culture through colorful parades and performances. Organizers also announced that the event will move to the autumn from 2027, citing increasingly intense summer heat and concerns over participants' safety. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Prime Minister Modi to launch a nationwide 100-week campaign against substance abuse. Aiming to deepen bilateral ties, Uzbekistan's Minister for Foreign Affairs to arrive in New Delhi today on a 3-day visit. What are women farmers in Jharkhand doing to increase crop yield? Stay with us to know.
Launch a bombing campaign against Iran. The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD.
Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories now. President Draupadi Murmu flags off inaugural President's Bodyguard Soldier-A-Thon 2026 from Rashtrapati Bhavan. The event celebrates 253-year legacy of the elite President's Bodyguard and commemorates the Kargil War. Trump cancels planned attacks on Iran, says perimeters of a deal agreed, as Tehran warns of decisive strikes on other nations' fields in retaliation. "13 die in tourist plane crash over Peru's Nazca lines. Cause remains under investigation, although flights were suspended over the area due to strong winds that reduced visibility. Spain installs floating barrier in Ceuta after a deadly migrant rush from Morocco. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez criticizes Italy's decision to suspend Schengen agreement with Madrid for a month. 5 of Cuba's 15 provinces without power as grid fails. 6th nationwide blackout of 2026, primarily driven by a strict ongoing US oil blockade. India jumped to the 4th spot in the medal table for the penultimate day of Commonwealth Games as boxers clinch a record haul of 7 gold medals. President Draupadi Murmu flagged off the inaugural President's Bodyguard Soldier-A-Thon at the President's house in Delhi on Sunday. The President was accompanied by the former Army Chief and Governor of Mizoram, General V.K. Singh. President unveiled a special postal cover on this occasion. TD India's Vishal Baristow gets us more.
The event commemorates the 253-year legacy of the President's Bodyguard. Raised in 1773, the President's Bodyguard is the world's only airborne cavalry regiment and the senior-most regiment of the Indian Armed Forces. It also marks 27 years of Kargil victory.
It makes me very happy and proud for the first PVG Soldier-A-Thon to be flagged off by our Honorable President from Rashtrapati Bhavan. It's a unique honor for the regiment and for the armed forces.
The event is being organized for the first time and is aimed at encouraging the youth towards physical fitness.
Being a part of this movement, the President Bodyguard feels very proud that we're in close touch with our youth and we can inspire them to be fit and to be healthy.
8,000 runners took part in this run. The run has been divided into 3 categories: Veer Daud for 3 kilometers, Mahavir Daud for 5 kilometers, and Paramveer Daud for 10 kilometers. The run is sponsored by Wonder Cements.
It feels proud because this is a cause for a nation, and especially the military and President, Bodyguard. We really feel proud to sponsor these kind of events.
Soldier-A-Thon is a commemorative marathon series in India founded by former Special Forces officer Major Dr. Surendra Punia to honor the Indian Armed Forces and raise welfare funds for war-wounded soldiers, veterans, and paraplegic rehabilitation centers. Run with the soldier, run for the soldier. With this motto, today's Soldier-A-Thon has tried to reach out to the youth. 8,000 runners are participating in this marathon. The whole idea is to attract youth towards sports and keep them away from drugs. With cameraman Monty in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristow for DD India, President House.
Concerned about the rising drug abuse in India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will virtually launch a nationwide 100-week campaign to raise awareness against the menace. Nasha Mukt Yuva for Viksit Bharat Sankalp Abhiyan aims to inspire youth to stay away from substance abuse and encourage them to become ambassadors of positive social change in their communities. Under this campaign, walkathons, sports activities, meditation sessions, street plays and art competitions will be organized every Sunday to drive home the message of drug-free society. Educational institutions, youth organizations, civil society groups, industry bodies and spiritual organizations will participate in the campaign. Uzbekistan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Saidov Bakhtiyor Odilovich, will arrive in New Delhi today on a 3-day visit, during which he will call on President Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan and also meet External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. He is also scheduled to attend a business forum in Delhi. On 20th of July, Minister Jaishankar held a telephonic conversation with Odilovich and discussed deepening of bilateral ties, including in trade, investment and other areas. Odilovich had noted that he had a substantive phone call conversation with the minister and agreed to continue further dialogue. Further in May, India and Uzbekistan held the 17th round of Foreign Office consultations in New Delhi and discussed bilateral ties with focus on trade and investment, tourism, technology, innovation, energy cooperation, in education and other sectors. The Medical Counselling Committee has released the NEET Undergraduate 2026 counselling schedule for MBBS and other undergraduate medical courses. The first round of all India quota counselling will begin on August 4, while the academic session of the 2026-27 batch will start from September 8th. Counselling for deemed and central universities will be held till August 17th, followed by subsequent rounds in August and September. The last date for joining will be August 22. State quota counselling will begin from August 13. MCC has introduced key changes, including online resignation from allotted seats, no mandatory physical reporting for candidates seeking seat upgrades, and online document submission for NRI quota students in deemed universities. The new process aims to make medical admissions more transparent and student-friendly. The 25th batch of pilgrims undertaking the Amarnath Yatra crossed Chandarkot on National Highway 44 safely on Sunday under comprehensive security arrangements put in place by the district administration and security agencies in Ramban district. The movement of the Yatra convoy was conducted smoothly with coordinated deployment of the Jammu and Kashmir Police, Indian Army, Central Armed Police Forces, Traffic Police, Civil Administration and other stakeholder agencies to ensure safety and security of all pilgrims. No fresh batch of Amarnath pilgrims was allowed to leave the Bhagwati Nagar Yatri Niwas base camp in Jammu on Saturday due to ongoing repair work on the Ladha Samroli stretch of National Highway 44 in Udhampur district. Authorities said the temporary suspension of the pilgrim convoy was a precautionary measure to facilitate restoration work on the highway and ensure the safe movement of devotees. Meanwhile, security arrangements along the Amarnath Yatra route have been significantly strengthened following the recent terrorist attack in Kulgam. Women farmers in Jharkhand are turning to organic fertilizers such as vermicompost, which is produced by using earthworms, super compost and traditional bio inputs to lower farming costs and improve crop yields. We get you details in our next report.
In Ranchi's Nagri block, rural women are leading a shift towards organic farming. Once dependent on chemical fertilizers, they are now growing vegetables using natural methods, creating healthier produce and new sources of income. Trained under the Jharkhand State Livelihood Promotion Society or JSLPS, these women now prepare organic fertilizers at home. As Ajivika Krishak Mitras, they are also training other women in organic farming.
मैं गांव का एकेश दीदी हूँ, कृषि मित्र हूँ, जिसमें हम दीदी लोग को सिखाते हैं कि जैविक खाद कैसे बनाया जाता है और जैविक खाद से क्या फ़ायदा है, उसका बारे में हम दीदी लोग को बतलाते हैं। और हम दूसरा प्रखंड भी जाते हैं, दीदी लोग को ट्रेनिंग देते हैं।
लोग रासायनिक खाद का यूज नहीं करते हैं, लोग घर में गांव में आसानी से गौमूत्र, गोबर और थोड़ा मोड़ा पैसा जैसे मिट्टी, बेसन, गुड़ खरीदने में लगता है। और रासायनिक खाद में तो महंगा भी पड़ता है और उसमें जैसे नुकसान भी होता है। कीटनाशक के लिए दवा तो चलाते हैं, लेकिन उसमें कीटाणु तो मर भी जाता है, लेकिन उसका स्वाद भी खराब कर देता है। देखने में सुंदर फल जरूर रहता है, खाने में स्वादिष्ट नहीं रहता है।
The organic fertilizer helps maintain soil fertility while reducing cultivation costs. Made from cow dung, cow urine, jaggery and other natural ingredients, it allows the farmers to grow crops without chemical inputs.
जैविक से हमको बहुत तरह का लाभ होता है। जैसे जैविक खेती कर रहे हैं तो फसल में भी वृद्धि हो रही है, दोगुनी आमदनी हो रही है और बीमारी भी बहुत कम होगा। तो हम खुद भी कर रहे हैं और किसानों को भी बता रहे हैं कि आप लोग भी कीजिए, जैविक कीजिए और जैविक खेती करके मतलब आगे बढ़िए, अपना पैदावार को दोगुनी कीजिए।
For these women, organic farming is creating a cycle of healthier soil, safer produce and stronger livelihoods.
Gujarat is all set to strengthen water conservation with the state's first rubber dam, a pioneer project expected to improve water storage and irrigation in Ceuta, Udaipur district. Take a look.
Water management in Gujarat is set to witness a major transformation as the state's first rubber dam nears completion. Being built across the Heron River at Rajvasana village in Ceuta Udaipur district at a cost of Rs 80 crore, the dam's defining feature is its advanced rubber bladder technology. Imported from South Korea, these rubber bladders allow the height of the dam to be raised or lowered as required, allowing flood water to flow freely during heavy rains and storing water once the rains subside.
The 30 villages downstream of the dam and the 50 villages upstream will directly benefit from irrigation and drinking water facilities. This project is being implemented on a very large scale.
The rubber dam is set to address the long-standing water scarcity in the Rajvasana region. The 220-meter long structure features 3 rubber bladders, each measuring 60 meters, installed across a 180-meter stretch. By inflating the bladders with air, the dam can be raised within just 30 minutes, while increasing water flow can be managed by lowering them whenever required.
The rubber dam will help address the irrigation-related challenges we have been facing, providing much-needed relief.
Until now, water from the Heron River flowed into the Narmada River after monsoon. Once the rubber dam becomes operational, this water will be stored and used to meet the region's needs. The project is expected to provide adequate drinking water and irrigation to nearly 50 villages. The Rajvasana rubber dam marks the beginning of a new chapter in water conservation in Gujarat and could serve as a model for future water management projects across the state.
You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Saudi Arabia, Russia and 5 other members of the OPEC Plus alliance contemplate increasing oil production. National Cadet Corps Cyclothon held in New Delhi to commemorate 79 years of India's independence.
Welcome to DD India, where a billion voices unite, connecting viewers to the stories that matter. India is not just another news channel. It's the international channel that puts the spotlight on the global south, bringing you stories from the heart of emerging economies, dynamic cultures and transformative voices. As the international news channel of India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati, DD India delivers high-quality content from every corner of the globe, focusing on the stories that shape our future. We don't just report news. We connect you to India's voice in the global narrative. From current affairs to culture, from economic growth to sustainable development and the ever-evolving world order, DD India gives you a comprehensive view of the world around us. Stay connected, stay informed, and embrace the stories that shape our lives. DD India, India's voice to the world.
Goa, an adventure paradise like none other. From lush forests to rugged hills, from pristine ocean beach stretches to stunning lakes, there is something to explore in every corner of the state. And some adventures are wilder than others. Watch Postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Newshour. Let's talk of business updates now. Saudi Arabia, Russia and 5 other members of the OPEC Plus alliance are expected to approve an increase in oil production quotas for September when they meet virtually on Sunday, despite continued disruptions to global energy supplies caused by the West Asia conflict. According to analyst Josh Leon, the producer group is likely to raise output by 188,000 barrels per day, extending a series of monthly production increases introduced this year. OPEC Plus had implemented 3 rounds of production cuts between late 2022 and 2023, removing nearly 6 million barrels per day from global markets amid concerns over weakening oil prices. However, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iraq, Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Algeria, Oman and the United Arab Emirates later shifted the strategy, gradually restoring production beginning in 2025. If approved, the September increase would complete the reversal of the second of the 3 production cut packages introduced by OPEC Plus, marking another step in the group's effort to normalize output levels. Japanese Finance Minister Satsuki Katayama will announce on Monday that Tokyo and Washington took joint action in the currency market to arrest the yen's slide to 40-year lows. Katayama is set to stress the country's determination to combat excessive yen declines. One source confirmed the announcement of joint action, adding that the operation is still ongoing. The move follows rounds of yen buying by Japanese and US authorities, the first joint intervention since 2011, aimed at supporting the currency from its weakest levels against the dollar since 1986. Japan conducted yen buying, dollar selling intervention in New York on Thursday, ahead of the Bank of Japan's policy decision. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had noted the yen appeared undervalued. Up next, we talk of sports. Boxers punched their way to a record-breaking haul of 7 gold medals, while judokas and para-track and field athletes also shone on the most productive day for India in the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow on Saturday. On the penultimate day of competitions, India jumped to the 4th spot in the medal table with 13 golds, 17 silvers and 9 bronze medals for a total of 39 podium finishes. Out of the 8 gold won by the Indian athletes, boxers contributed 7 in their best ever show in the Commonwealth Games. India topped the boxing medal table with 7 golds and 3 silver medals. The other gold was won by Soman Rana in the men's F57 para shot put event. In judo, Unnati Sharma clinched a bronze medal in the women's 63 kg event to continue the country's historic run. The bronze was India's 4th medal in judo, continuing the country's best ever Commonwealth Games campaign in the sport. It was a historic moment for Indian para sports athletes in Glasgow as they equaled the haul of all the previous editions put together, winning 7 medals, including 1 gold and silver. Australia led the medal table with 62 gold medals, followed by England and Canada. Gulveer Singh scripted history as he became the first Indian athlete to win 2 medals in a single edition of the Commonwealth Games. Reigning Asian champion Gulveer, who had won a silver in the 10,000 meters race on July 28th, finished 3rd in the 5,000 meters race with a time of 13 minutes 24.95 seconds to complete a historic double on the concluding day of the athletics competition in Glasgow. Matthew Kipchumba and Kipsang of Kenya took the gold, while Australia's Key Robinson clinched the silver. We are now joined in by our correspondent Narayan Singh from Glasgow for more details. Narayan, hi. How do you assess the Indian contingent's performance on day 10th of the Games?
Yes, a historic performance by the Indian athletes, especially the boxers. In Commonwealth Games, we can say that a watershed moment in the Indian sports history. In boxing, 7 gold medals and 3 silver medals. They performed exceptionally well. A historic performance by our boxers. start of a new era in the Indian boxing, and hoping that the kind of performance they have delivered here in the upcoming Asian Games also they will replicate and show the dominance of the India. When we talk to them, they look very, very confident, and they said that now they are eyeing the medals at the bigger podiums also. They praised the government of India for their support, the Sports Authority of India for their support, the Boxing Federation of India for their support. So all the stakeholders are coming under one umbrella to put our sports at the different level. This medal, this number 7 golds and the 3 silver medals has helped India to be at the 4th place in the medal tally. Now talking about the para sports, where we saw another first time India won a medal in the T57 men's shot put event, where we saw 2 Army men won medals for the India. It was a historic 1-2 finish, where we saw Somnam Rana and the Juyal, that is Shubham Juyal, the Army men, winning gold and silver for the India. Para track and field, this time around they did exceptionally well. Overall, if you take a look, the number of the medals they won, the overall 7 medals. If you take a look, since the para sports has been introduced in the Commonwealth Games, overall India had won 6 medals, but for this single edition only, we have won 7 medals. In the coming times, we will see the sport revolution has been started, and India will dominate the world sports right from here.
All right, thank you, Narayan, for those updates. And India's Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia flagged off the National Cadet Corps Cyclothon 2026 at the Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium in New Delhi. The cyclothon is a 79-kilometer cycling event featuring 79 NCC cadets to commemorate 79 years of India's independence. The event will conclude at Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium in New Delhi. Olympic medalist Mary Kom and former Indian tennis player Leander Pace also praised the cyclothon as a drive to inspire the youth. Minister Mandavia said the National Cadet Corps symbolized fitness and discipline and is known for its social service. That's it in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts for the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.